Let me tell you about my day at the Central Bureau of Everything and Nothing. You know, one of those places where time goes to die and common sense takes a permanent vacation. So there I was, clutching my carefully filled out Form 89B, feeling pretty proud of myself for remembering to use blue ink and staying within those ridiculously tiny lines. The agent behind the counter, wearing that special brand of government-issued apathy, barely glances at my form. "You need Form 89C, she drones, like she's announcing the weather in the most boring parallel universe. "But I just spent 40 minutes filling out Form 89B, I protest, trying to maintain my sanity. "What's the difference?" She looks at me like I've just asked why fish can't ride bicycles. 89C has a barcode, she says, as if that explains everything in the universe. You know that moment when you're so frustrated you start getting creative? Yeah, that hit me hard. "Well, hey," I say with a hint of desperate humor, "why don't I just scan myself into the system?" "Save us all some time?" Without missing a beat, she replies, "That would require Form 89D. Of course it would. Because why make something simple when you can create an alphabet soup of bureaucratic paperwork? By this point, I'm pretty sure I'm starring in some cosmic comedy. "Do you even know what you're doing?" The words slip out before I can stop them. She reaches under her desk and pulls out, you guessed it, another form. That would be Form 89E, Complaint Against Confusion. She slides it across the counter with the practiced precision of someone who's been crushing souls professionally for decades. You know what's the real kicker? I later found out there's a Form 89F for requesting information about why you need Form 89E to complain about Forms 89B through D. And yes, there's probably a Form 89G explaining the existence of Form 89F. Sometimes I wonder if somewhere, in some dusty government basement, there's a computer running an ancient program called Bureaucracy.exe, endlessly generating new forms just to keep us all trapped in this paper maze. And the only way to shut it down? You probably need to fill out Form 89Z, in triplicate, of course. Picture this. It's Friday night. You're finally home after a long week, ready to binge watch your favorite show. You've got your snacks ready, you're in your comfy clothes, and then the dreaded buffering circle appears. Why is my internet slower than dial-up? I mutter to myself, already feeling my blood pressure rise. So, I do what any rational person would do. I call my internet service provider, or as I like to call them, the masters of digital disappointment. "Good news!" the cheerful voice on the other end announces. "We've upgraded your plan." "To what?" "Turtle mode," I snap back. Because I'm pretty sure my grandmother's dial-up from 1998 was faster than this. The representative, maintaining their impossibly chipper tone, responds, "This new plan comes with free buffering." As if that's somehow a selling point. Free buffering? That's fascinating because I clicked play on a 2-minute video 5 minutes ago, and I'm still staring at a spinning circle that's making me question my life choices. Sir, we understand your frustration. The loading time is designed to help you practice patience. At this point, I'm losing it. Listen, I just tested it. My microwave has faster data transfer than your service. I can heat up an entire lasagna in the time it takes to load a single meme. And you know what they say? Without missing a beat. Would you like to bundle that too? We have an excellent microwave internet package. The irony of it all? This conversation took place over 3 calls because the phone line kept dropping. And each time I called back, I got to listen to their hold music, which, you guessed it, kept buffering. You know we've hit rock bottom when carrier pigeons start looking like a viable alternative for data transfer. At least they come with a satisfaction guaranteed policy. Either your message arrives or you get free dinner. So here I am, still waiting for that video to load, writing this complaint on paper because my email won't send. Maybe I'll just frame my monthly internet bill and call it modern art. The Emperor's New Bandwidth. Ever heard the one about the system that had a vendetta against Tuesdays? Well, let me tell you about my absolutely riveting conversation with HR this morning. You know, one of those conversations that makes you question whether you're living in a sitcom or just losing your mind. So there I was, checking my bank account for the 1000th time. hoping maybe the numbers would magically change if I stared at it long enough. Spoiler alert, they didn't. My paycheck was missing. Again, for the third time this quarter, might I add. I did what any rational person would do, marched down to HR with my best "I'm trying to stay calm" face. You know the one, where your eye is slightly twitching but you're still managing a polite smile? "My pay's missing again," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. The HR rep, let's call her Sarah, looked up from her computer with that oh-so-familiar "here we go again" expression. "Oh yes," she said, typing away at her keyboard like she was composing a symphony. The system glitched. Now, I've heard some creative excuses in my time, but what came next was pure gold. When I pointed out this was becoming a regular occurrence, Sarah, with the straightest face I've ever seen, said, "The system doesn't like Tuesdays." I stood there, blinking, wondering if I'd somehow slipped into an alternate dimension. "It's Friday," I replied, feeling like I was stating the obvious in a world that had suddenly gone mad. But Sarah was ready for that one. Without missing a beat, she explained that the system was still recovering from Tuesday. As if the computer system was nursing a 3-day hangover from some wild Tuesday night party I wasn't invited to. Desperate for a solution, I asked if I could get my check manually. You know, the old-fashioned way? With actual paper and ink, Sarah's response was the cherry on top of this absurdist sundae. Sure, in 6 to 8 system weeks. System weeks, not regular human weeks. System weeks, I didn't even know those existed. Are they longer than regular weeks? Shorter? Do they follow the lunar calendar? The cosmic calendar? The Tuesday calendar?
You know what's really funny?
We live in an age where we can land robots on Mars and have self-driving cars, but apparently we can't figure out how to make a payroll system that doesn't have an emotional breakdown every Tuesday. I left HR that day with no pay, no real solution, but with a newfound appreciation for the absurdity of modern workplace technology. And now every Tuesday, I pour one out for the system, hoping it'll get over its Tuesday trauma and finally let me have my paycheck on time. Remember, folks, if your computer ever starts showing signs of day-specific anxiety, just be patient. It might just be having a case of the Tuesdays, even on a Friday. Hey, let me tell you about my latest therapy session. It's funny how mental health and money seem to go hand in hand these days. So I walk into this pristine office. You know the type. Minimalist decor, those weird Zen water fountains, and a plant that's definitely fake but trying really hard not to be. My therapist greets me with that practiced warm smile and asks, "How are you feeling today?" I couldn't help but laugh and say, "Like America, deeply in debt and pretending everything's fine." I thought it was pretty clever, but she just scribbled something in her notepad. Probably uses humor as a defense mechanism, or something equally profound. The session goes on, and we dive into my anxiety, my relationships, my work stress, the usual suspects. But here's the kicker. As we're wrapping up, she casually mentions, "That'll be $300. And just like that, I have a whole new anxiety to discuss. I mean, isn't it ironic? I'm literally paying someone to listen to me talk about how I can't afford things, including paying them to listen to me talk about how I can't afford things. It's like a really expensive version of talking to yourself. I'm feeling pretty anxious about the bill, I confess, thinking maybe she'll give me a friendship discount or something. But no, she just gives me that thoughtful look and says, "That sounds like something we should explore in another session." At this point, I'm caught in this bizarre psychological spending spiral. The more anxious I get about therapy costs, the more therapy I apparently need, which makes me more anxious about the costs. It's like a very expensive game of emotional whack-a-mole. The cherry on top, when I finally said, "I feel seen," hoping to wrap things up on a positive note, she replied with, "For $600, we can really explore what that means for you." You know what's funny? They say money can't buy happiness, but apparently it can rent it by the hour. Welcome to the modern mental health economy, where your wallet needs therapy just as much as you do.
If this hits too close, you're one of us. Subscribe.